This is the Tom Bigby Tales. I'm your host, Shannon Evans. I live in a small town in Columbus, Mississippi. Today's episode is Low Hanging Fruit. I got a copy of the most recent Mississippi magazine so I could look at the full page ad that the CVB's director placed on the November-December holiday edition. This year's holiday magazine edition is titled Home for the Holidays and features articles titled things like Christmas Time in the City, Gingerbread and Joyful Celebrations, An Elegant Back Bay Holiday, Deep-Rooted Traditions, and The More the Merrier. The magazine is filled with various ads for organizations and businesses around the state, but it also is populated with various towns in Mississippi and their tourism organizations like the CVB who place ads. What's different about their ads from the Columbus Visitors Bureau ad? Well, those ads actually list holiday-themed activities and traditions in their towns. They also have lovely photos of their town in general. Unlike our ad, but what we will get to, and we will get to that in a minute. But first, let's examine the publisher and editor of this magazine. We know that Nancy Carpenter, the director of the Columbus CVB, is a huge fan of cronyism and nepotism. So it should come as no surprise that Mississippi Magazine's publisher is none other than Carpenter's sorority sister, Lee Ward Reeves. Reeves is the sister-in-law of Governor Tate Reeves and the owner of Snapshot Media, who gets a significant chunk of CVB advertising dollars in addition to our ad dollars that go to the Mississippi Magazine, where a 1/8 page ad starts at $500 and a full page ad is between $3,000 and $5,000 on average. However, it's more if you want a particular page placement, such as the center of the magazine or toward the front. The CVB in this edition has a full page ad featuring a half-page image of a living room with a decorated Christmas tree and stocking-bedecked mantle. There's a nutcracker by the fireplace and lovely festive packages spilling out from under the tree. The center part of the ad contains 4 images in a row that are approximately 2 by 2.5 inches rectangles each. The far left, in the ditch of the page, appears to be a Christmas tree in the distance of the image, and in the foreground, canapes on a silver tray on a table in front of a white flocked or velvet ornamental deer and greenery centerpiece. You know, one of those deers you get at Hobby Lobby. The second photo in the band of images is of the Berry House, a small antebellum home on 4th Street South in Columbus that is not open to tourism and is a private residence. It has a mixed up holiday decor of the home in what I would call Christmas Williamsburg meets the 4th of July. The third photo on the band is of cut glass nondescript champagne glasses on a paper doily lined silver round tray. The fourth and final image is of a Christmas ornament that is a red-coated English regimental drummer with a bit of a tree branch across his left shoulder. The remaining 1/3 of the page for this ad is a white field with green letters stating, in 1.5 to 2 inch lettering, Merry and Bright. Underneath that is the Visit Columbus logo in green in about 1 inch lettering. At the very bottom of this is a green strip that's about a 1/2 inch high, and in small letters across the bottom, it states, visit columbus.org for a complete list of attractions and events. Followed on the last line with, in much smaller print, Tennessee Williams House Museum and Welcome Center, 300 Main Street. And then there's the 800 number. Wow. Let's analyze all that is wrong with this ad because there's so much wrong, it's difficult to pick where to start with. Now, I know this all sounds innocuous until you look closer. Let's just start at the top of the page. Or how about all the images on the page? Because they are all inside Nancy Carpenter's house. Yes, her personal home. While it is a presumably lovely home and one of the earliest homes built in town, it is still her home, a home that is not on either the original Historic Pilgrimage Home Tour, nor is it on the Preservation Group Home Tour. This is all about building the Nancy brand, or it's another example of where Carpenter has waited to the last minute to submit ad copy, so she digs in her phone for whatever might do. Yes, her low-hanging fruit is always her own personal photo collection. The photos do not promote Columbus. They do not promote the community, holiday events, or anything else that might attract tourists. As usual, she puts her own images on display. Perhaps the most egregious part of her continuing to use her own home, and usually herself and her daughter in the ads, is that she was told by the board specifically to cease using her home, herself, and her family in all advertising for the CVB. This is blatant insubordination and shows a complete disregard for the directives of her board. Complete disregard. Let's think of other things she could have put in this center strip and in the main photo. How about Main Street decorated for Christmas during Wasselfest? What about the giant frosty decoration on the historic building used by Columbus Light and Water? Or how about the W's decorated classic buildings? What about the beautiful Lee home or Riverview or White Arches or Rosedale or any of the other antebellum homes on the historic home tours that are iconic images, always decorated lovely for Christmas, and would also serve to attract tourists? That would be the logical, marketing-oriented thing to do. I mean, she hires enough branding and marketing groups to guide and advise her. Certainly, they are not recommending that she use her home and her personal photos. Heck, I'd probably be less critical if she at least put a wreath on one of those double-decker buses and put one of those in the ad instead. What's really missing from the ad that is most annoying to anyone who works in tourism or marketing or business or who just has general common sense? Well, what's missing? How about a call to action? Anything that talks about the events, dates, etc. of things in Columbus. Because we know her web pages are lacking in event promotion, and most print magazine readers aren't going to grab their phones and search events in that tiny URL that she has at the bottom of the page. Why doesn't she actually list the events? Where's the Christmas parade that this year is going to feature the famous Clydesdales? What about the art and antique show and sale that's happening this weekend? What about our award-winning Wasselfest that attracts thousands of tourists downtown each year? Or the Christmas open house, or the lighting of the Christmas tree at the Tennessee Williams House, and the holiday market at the hitching lot? And I know that there are many, many more events that I've not even thought of yet. Nope. Instead, Carpenter insists on populating herself, her house, and or her family in every ad for the CVB. For example, when you fly into Columbus and enter into the hallway where you either turn to get your luggage in a rental car or walk straight out to where your car is, you are confronted by a giant banner type sign that essentially welcomes you to Columbus. It is a Visit Columbus sign, but you would never know it is sponsored by Visit Columbus because nowhere on that entire banner does it have that logo or the email address or the URL for that matter. First of all, this ad was created by a major national advertising agency and cost at minimum of $15,000 to place in that position. at the airport. Let's dissect the images on the banner and why the entire ad would confuse anyone not familiar with Columbus. First of all, this is at least probably a 15 to 20 foot long ad that's about 4 to 5 feet tall. The first image is relatively self-explanatory. It's the Tennessee Williams home with the historic sign clearly in the foreground and readable. There is a couple on the porch, an older man in khakis and a plaid shirt looking down at a woman seated on one of the porch rockers. Laws have mercy. We can't escape the Carpenter family because guess what? It's Nancy and her deceased husband, Carol, on the big screen. Her sitting right there in that rocker and her husband looking down at her. Yep, the CEO of the CVB is in the ad with yet another family member. Good grief. The next image on the banner is a statement that's fairly innocuous. It says, "Welcome to Columbus, the city that has it all." But that's it. That is followed by an image of the now closed walkover Tombigbee Bridge, a platter of shrimp. Why? I have not the foggiest notion, because we are hours away from the coast and we are not known for shrimp. Steak and catfish, yes, but shrimp? Ugh. Oh no. A photo of the W's Callaway Hall is then included, followed by, in the last image, a man playing an electric guitar with the caption, #Visit Mississippi, visit MS responsibly, across the lower half of the man's legs. Whatever that means. There's no URL, no address of the Welcome Center, no explanation of what any of these places are and what they mean to Columbus. It is an expensive nothing burger with a not very flattering photo of Carpenter, her husband, or anything in the rest of the photos. Why does Carpenter continue to be allowed to throw tens of thousands, no, hundreds of thousands of marketing money into failed ad after failed ad that always have herself, her family, or her home in them? When is the board going to say enough is enough and give her a set of resignation papers if they aren't willing to flat out fire her? When are the people of Columbus and Lowndes County going to rise up and demand her removal? Call the president of the Board of Supervisors if you live in the county. Call your council person and the mayor if you live in the city, and demand that these people tell their appointees to the CVB board to demand Carpenter's removal from the CEO position. Call or email every board member and tell them how disgusted you are by this continued self-promotion by their employee, Nancy Luke Carpenter. Demand a change in leadership in the CEO of the CVB. We deserve better, but first we must let our voices be heard or nothing will be done and nothing will ever change. I'm Shannon Evans, and this is the Tombigbee Tales.